Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Healing in Nature Stories. In this space, we will explore what it means to heal and grow and really come home to ourselves through our connection to nature. And this stories, the intention is for them to be real and raw conversation because healing is not always a straight line. It's really a journey that's filled with curiosity and courage and sometimes some unexpected invitations. So today, I am so grateful to have Brenda Ademi, who is an educator, and she's actually currently completing the training as a forest therapy guide through the same training I did with the ANFP. I'm looking forward to exploring your story today. So, hi, Brenda.
Hi, Klara. Thank you so much for the invitation.
Yeah. So glad you're here. So, how about just start a little bit about what's your background? How did you ended up doing what you're doing today?
Mhm, mhm, mhm. Originally, I'm from Kosovo. So, I'm an immigrant basically, and I've been living in America since 2022. So, for 3 years overall. As an immigrant, we know how difficult it is to deal with many, many, many challenges and, difficulties, hardships, such as social issues, like the lack of communication with your family members that sometimes you might miss and you need to communicate with them, right? So, that is one of the main factors that actually made me connect with forest therapy, but that's something that I will explain and explore later on. So I am in education for 6 years now, and I've been teaching ESL, English as a second language, to immigrants and to people whose first language is not English, but is a second language, right? Um, I worked in different environments, different settings, for example, in private schools, in public schools. I completed my master's degree in education in Germany, where I studied Waldorf pedagogy. I don't know if you know about Waldorf, but it's kind of a different approach when it comes to education, right?
Mhm.
So it's all about holistic approach, like connecting students with nature, connecting students with arts, right? Going back to that wholeness of mind and body, but not separating mind as a different entity from the body, right? So it's
Yeah.
which is the opposite of what I'm doing right now because I am working for a charter school, and charter schools are mainly funded from public schools, but they have a different system of education. I work with students who have drug addiction issues, right? And they have behavioral problems, social problems. And I love it. I love working with this category of students, but it is a mission, right? It is not only what you're going to teach, but it's also how are you going to approach the teaching? How are you going to create the connection with your students, right? So that they can believe you, they can trust you. Right?
Mhm.
And that's basically what I'm doing now.
So you mentioned that you're doing something now that it's disconnected from what you've learned, which is the connection of body and mind.
Mhm.
Why are you saying that this is different?
Okay,
Oh.
very good question. So from my experience, Steiner schools in America or in Germany, in Europe, they are very focused on how to make these children happy, right?
Mm.
But not happy in that academic sense. How to make students going out, how to make students awakening their senses, right? And when you are part of a system like, for example, public education, you might see or you might encounter situations where you will just go to the classroom and just deliver the lesson, right? So there is no physical activities, there is no arts taking place. And that is something that I was not used to see, you know? That's why I'm saying that there is a disconnection. Unless the teacher decides, for example, to take initiatives on its own, right? And to bring that change, to bring that difference.
Mm.
I'm not saying that it's bad, but it's just very, very different from Waldorf settings.
Interesting. Yeah, it says kind of a lot about the systems. Huh.
It does. And education is actually I think one of the most fundamental issues now in the world, not only in the United States, but I think there is so much more to do, you know, especially in public education, public sector.
Mm, yeah. Um, well, thank you so much for sharing a little bit about your background. You mentioned you've been here only for 3 years.
Mhm.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
That's pretty cool. How was your transition when you came? Like, what did you face when you came? Because I came to the States about, I want to say 12 years now. I was born in Russia, grew up in Israel, and came here.
Ah, mhm.
So, I'm curious. I always curious to hear what people's experience when they come from a different country here and what they facing. So I'm curious to hear what yours was.
Mhm. So, as I said in the beginning, it has been very challenging for me, especially in the social aspect, because I'm extremely social. And I might be introvert, but most of the time I'm very extrovert. I need to be with people, right? But not only to be, I really need to have that deep and authentic self and the authentic connection with them, right? And when you transition, when you go to another country, for example, in my case, I came to America, I didn't know anyone, right? So it's very hard to create that circle of people, that cycle. It takes time. And that's where you actually test your perseverance, your persistence, right? And your beliefs. I didn't want to quit. I wanted to continue because I knew that there is something. And now, actually, I see that after 3 years, I have come to that point that, oh, I think I'm finding my own tribe, right? I think I'm finding my people, because the universe does that. Makes you just need to let it go, don't think too much about it. I was thinking a lot, what am I going to do? How am I going to socialize? Oh, I don't know anyone. That is a little bit terrifying, to be honest with you. But eventually, just give it time and be patient. Things will change.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a great perspective. And on a big change, because this is a big change when you transition to a different country. On top of everything else that's going on, I think everybody wants to have friends. Like everybody want to be connected to something. And coming from a new place, kind of leaving everything behind, it is definitely scary and uncomfortable. Um, do you recall any other times of your life where you were kind of like a risk taker like that?
Absolutely. So I have been a war refugee in 1999 when Kosovo and Serbia were in war, right? So I was only 5 years old when I left my country with my parents and my little brother. At that time, it was only me and my brother. And then eventually we had another sister, another brother. And we moved with my parents to Australia. But it has been, I cannot explain with words how difficult it is to go through war times at that age because it definitely leaves you trauma in your mind. And it's difficult to get through. That's why you need a lot of healing when you get into an age where you see that something is missing. What is missing? Well, actually, it's missing because the time when you were supposed to be nourished and nurtured and warmed and loved, you were traumatized, right? So yeah, this has been one of the memories and times where actually I feel proud of myself because at 5 years old, being in a war zone, right, and trying to escape, not having the right food in the table, being scared, and not me, but everybody else who was living with us, right? Yeah.
Wow. Yes. I can't even imagine what it's like to be a kid living in a war zone because it's like you don't even have any sense of control. And you guys moved to Australia, which is like the other side of the world, basically. If you think
It,
about it,
it
just
is. Yes. Yeah.
and and you mentioned something I was thinking about when you grew up. You kind of identified something that you were carrying from back then when you were a little kid. How did you make those connections and what did you do about that?
Mhm. I think my connection and my deep desire to get into spirituality brought me to the idea that there is a lot of healing that people need. But before people heal, I must heal myself, right? So, because basically you cannot heal and you cannot help anybody if you're not healed or helped by yourself first. That's my first understanding. And when I was doing my studies, like I was studying anthroposophy, I was studying the holistic approach to students, I was studying the temperaments of people, how to deal with teaching, how to consider teaching as an art and not as a science. Eventually, when I moved to the United States, there was this enlightening, this awakening that I never ever thought about it. Like I started doing a lot of yoga. I do yin, I do tai chi, I did healing touch, I did reconnective healing. I wanted to learn so much about how to heal people holistically, how to heal people energetically and not medicine based. Although I'm not against it, but I just wanted to go into the depth, into the core of the problem. Because sometimes we just think that, oh, let's just treat the symptoms, but actually the symptoms might come back. The root cause of the problem is something that we need to heal. And that's where it started. Holistic healing, holistic approach, integrative medicine. It's what actually brought me into the sense of awakening in my life at this point.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And you mentioned that was at the point where you moved to the States.
Exactly. Yes.
So, what was going on in your life at that specific time that, because I know there was all this struggles, but is there something that you can recall, a specific thing that was like, okay, I need to start doing more of this spiritual exploration and try this new thing at
Mhm.
this specific time?
All right. Yes. Very, very good question. I love this. So the whole idea is for me to be connected with myself. And I was trying to find happiness from the outer world, like
Mm.
buying clothes, going to courses, do this, buy this, go for vacation. And I saw that, wait a second, this is not completing me. It is not. And even if I try to connect with 100 people out there and with people within my house, I'm not going to get fulfilled. I can see, right? And that is the sense of spirituality that my connection within me, with myself, was definitely depleted.
What a great like aha moment, right? It's like an aha moment for
Yeah.
yourself. You're like, wow, I've been
Uh,
looking to connect to all these people, but first I need to connect to myself.
exactly. That's the
Ah,
first awakening. Once I knew about that, Mm. you feel that happiness, you feel that breeze, that flow, that rhythm. You don't get attached to things, you stay grounded. Yeah.
I can so relate to this because when I had my low moments, I was thinking about how I forgot who I am because all I was doing is filling up roles for other people, like doing what other people want me to do, be a mom, be a wife, be a daughter. But I was like, well, what do I want? Who am I? And I had this similar aha moment that you're sharing, and it was huge. It was like mind blowing. It was like, I'm nobody. I don't even know who I am.
Don't know who I am yet.
And it was like, okay, so now I have to figure it out. And that's kind of like the spiritual journey that you're sharing. That's so cool.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, Clara. I loved it. I loved it. And, the more I try to understand, the more I find out. And then sometimes when I don't have specific answers, I let it go. I am accepting the fact that mystery sometimes it's a good thing to accept and to just go with it. Because, I want that answer. I want that knowing. I know that factual. No. If it doesn't come, it's fine.
So you were sharing about this aha moment. We kind of share the same aha moment together. And it's such a beautiful moment to be in because
Mhm.
it's kind of like a new world open up in front of us.
Yeah.
And I guess at this point, I would like to bring like nature, right? Because you are now training to be a forest therapy guide. But how did nature came along your journey?
Mhm. Okay, very good. Yeah. So everything I'm gonna go back to education because basically education is my starting point. So looking at how schools operate, right? Mostly it's an environment with four walls where students are sitting in the desks and the learning process is happening and nothing is bad about it. But my understanding of education is a different type of understanding, right? I really love when students are given the opportunity to learn outdoors, right? And outdoors education has been going on for so long now, but it just wasn't very, very, very famous, you know? And then the idea of being out and socializing and having that sense of connectedness just, you know, started somehow. So I wanted to learn, for example, how to be outside with my students, how to connect that initiative, how to bring them outdoors, you know, um, because I believe that nature is medicine itself, right? So if I've been, for example, talking all the time in the classroom and no students understood what I said because they were extremely sleepy, I am pretty sure that that's not going to happen if I was outside with them, right? Because they would walk, they would be interested to know, they would see their senses are awakened, not dull. So basically, this is the idea how I came up with forest therapy.
Oh, very interesting. So you were trying to bring the benefits of nature into your education with the students. So
Mhm,
helping them. That's great.
mhm.
And what is can you recall a moment in your life that nature was a big component in your journey?
I think it has been a big component for forever, and it has been, part of myself. But mostly when I moved to United States, I think that the lack of socializing with people automatically should be substituted with something. And in that case, if you're not socializing with people, I think the best friend in that moment is going to be nature. Otherwise, you definitely burn out or you get depressed, you get sick, and you are bedridden. But for me, I didn't want to let that happen, right? So I decided to make that connection with nature. And not that I didn't have people to socialize with at that point when I started the forest therapy training, but it's just that I wanted to learn more about Shinrin-yoku.
Ah, that's awesome. We a lot in forest therapy, nature connection, we talk about relationships, right, between us and nature. And I wonder if for you, how does relationship evolve? Like where were you before and where are you now?
Mhm. Well, before I would see nature just as a place to go out and just be there. After I'm almost finishing with the program, and I'm very happy and excited that at some point I will be taking people out for walks. But the idea that you are considering nature as a medicine, the idea that you are considering nature as a place where your senses are going to be completely awakened, the idea that your body is going to be present, and after the third invitation, for example, you don't want to leave. You know, the idea that in nature you're going to deal with your edges, with your fears, with your challenges. Sometimes at some point you want to leave, right? You just in the beginning, especially because you come from that cosmopolitan, crowded, noisy world into a so pure, quiet, lovely, authentic world, such as forest, And yeah, now I consider it more pure and more um, blessed for me, for my body, for my soul, for my heart, and for all the people who want really to join to be part of the environment as well. Because I think this is one of the most important times where we really need to prioritize our mental health.
Um, well, that's pretty incredible that you found nature to be your tool. So you initially encounter this yourself, and then you realize that you want to bring it into the school system.
Mhm,
Have you started speaking to them
mhm,
about bringing it in? Like, how are you gonna go around this to bring it
mhm,
in?
mhm, mhm. Alright. So, basically, the category that I am interested to work with in forest therapy is students who have a lot of, drug, issues, drug addiction issues, and behavioral problems. Unfortunately, during this time, the school was not very promising in, taking them out because, you have to be very secure and safe. You need to know where you're taking them. A lot of many elements coming to finalize this project. But I've been talking to them about forest therapy and as a notion, what is it? What does it mean to be outside? What are the benefits? I mean, pretty much, nurtured the idea that being outside is actually very good for the health.
Is there a common theme for people when you talk about nature and being outside and connecting to nature? Is there anything that comes up for people? Because I know there is some, like you said, edges, right? So I'm
Mhm.
curious, which edges did you encounter?
Yeah. I think mostly when I experience the conversation about forest therapy, people really want to come to that point where they just feel calm, where they just feel, connected with the present moment. I think the edge that they go through is the lack of being present. They are so much into their heads and they disconnect from reality. And once they are in that forest, something just shifts and, they become present, they become mindful.
Hmm. So it sounds like what you're saying is that if we just talk to people about the benefits of nature, that is not enough. We have to get them outside so that the effect of nature can actually take place. Because when we just share about it, it doesn't really sink in for people.
Mhm,
And they
mhm.
actually have to experience it.
Exactly. Exactly how you said it. Like the idea of just talking, some talk is good, but actually if you don't if you don't combine it with practice and if you don't take people out to activate their bodies, oh man, no, after 1 hour, 5 minutes, gone back to their mind, I think so, my opinion, right? But I think that the whole idea is for them to see how is this effect taking place in their body, right? Is Brenda just talking or is really this thing happening? You know what I'm saying? It's like they really need to be with themselves, but in order for them to be back, the walk, the walk and talk. And sometimes, for example, in the last walk that I had with my friend, um, she didn't want to talk after the third invitation. She didn't. Like she just wanted to be calm, enjoy, no sharing. Everything's good. Everything is just enjoying everything, It was amazing. The transition, the idea that in the beginning she wanted to say so much, And then on the third invitation, "Mm-mm. No, 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 I don't. It's perfect. Wonderful.
Oh, interesting. What an interesting experience. And it reminds me how, like, when we go out in nature, we all experience different things and
Mhm,
different things come to us, and how
mhm,
the forest is in a way a therapist for each
mhm.
one, whatever they need at that particular moment.
Yeah, yeah,
And it's so
yeah,
beautiful.
yeah. I think it is very beautiful that, we transfer the idea that we are not your therapists, we are not your psychologists or counselors, because that's the forest for that duty, right? We are just here to guide, and take it. create that connection with this medicine, with this counselor, with this therapist.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Mhm.
100%. That's powerful.
Mhm.
So, if there's somebody who's listening to this and they are not very comfortable with going outside to nature, maybe they are scared or they have a lot of things going on in their mind, is there anything that you can share, any practices, any tips that help?
Mhm. Yes. Um, I think that they can start with breathing. I know that we are not taught in schools how to breathe, but I think breathing is very important. And breathing exercises, belly exercises, like or doing some physical activities if they really don't want to have that connection with the outdoors. For example, not necessarily to be out in the forest, but if they have a yard, they can look from the window. It is very healing, because you see the greenery, you see the plants, you see the sky, you see a bird, you create the connection immediately, you know? So maybe that's where they can start.
Mm, start small kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Very small.
Right. And because your specific personal story incorporates a little bit of coming to a new country, transition, um, change, maybe identity shift, things like that. Um, if somebody going through a similar experience that you had, what would you say to them?
Okay. So I think this is very connected with your inner strength. And there are people who might not be able to deal with it. And if they see that they are really hitting the rock bottom, there is always time to go back. There is always time to change things. Not everything has to be permanently as it is because that doesn't make any sense, right? Everything changes. The energy also shifts, right? But if, for example, those people want to really go through a lot of transformation because whatever you deal with it and it's challenging, it's going to be helpful for you because it shapes your identity, it shapes your personality, it makes you stronger, you know? So I think the best thing to do is to just talk to yourself and see if you're strong enough to deal with that situation. If not, there is always time to move forward or to go backward. And nothing, absolutely, there is nothing wrong with either one.
I hear you saying there's always a way, and there is no right or wrong with whatever way you choose, as long as you continue moving forward.
Continue moving forward and, doing what your soul and heart wants.
Mm,
Not letting mind, mess up with your decisions. Most of the sense of heart, because heart has that brain that talks to you mostly, right? So the heart knows. And that's why, I needed all the time space for myself. I needed time for myself to think, to let it go, to reflect, to, you know, be there, be present, try to go back to myself, take decisions, thinking what those decisions are going to be. How are they going to affect my life? You know?
mm, yeah, that's awesome. If anybody would, have any questions for you or something specific that maybe spoke out to them, um, and they want to connect with you, is there a specific place that you would prefer people to reach out to you if they want to?
Absolutely, yes. So they can email me on my email account. They can also follow me on Instagram and on Facebook.
Right. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story and being open and vulnerable. And you have a pretty incredible journey right there from in such a period of time. It seems like you achieved a lot since the moment you moved here. So I'm sure you are proud of yourself, but me as knowing you now, I'm proud of you too, because I think it's pretty incredible. for
Thank
doing
you
that.
so much. Yes, thank you so much, Clara. And I wish you the best in this journey as well. It's a wonderful initiative to, interview people who are in the same path and who want to share the same goal and help people because that's the fundamental goal, right? To help and to heal those who really need a lot of healing.
Yeah, it's like you said, we start from ourselves and then we bringing it forward because we
Mhm.
can't help if we haven't went through this path, we're not gonna know. So I think that's beautiful. Everybody on this journey, and we just figuring it out as we go.
Like, uh-huh, uh-huh. Yes, 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 absolutely.
Thank you so much for participating. It was cool. I loved it.
Absolutely, Clara. Thank you. It was a pleasure.
All right, we'll talk soon.
We'll talk soon. Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye.